Hey everybody, my name is Ryan Shear with Lebanon Now, and I'm here with State Rep Jeff Knight. He's the representative of the 142nd. Now, property tax is kind of a big issue. We're trying to, I feel, after going to a few hearings with the commission and the one we just had, there's some unanswered questions, and Lebanon Now, we just want to bring you information. So I asked Jeff, and he graciously agreed to come on and talk to us a little bit about that. How is it going today, my friend?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Hey, absolutely. Thank you for your time. So the property tax, if you've been paying attention, all of a sudden, a lot of people, they jumped up, raised up. The state commission or the state tax commission come in and said, hey, we're going to withhold money until things get right and XYZ. So let's kind of go from the beginning and once again, jump in and correct me wherever I'm wrong. And so we can get a little more, I guess, unmuddy the waters a little bit.
So for me, it probably started, I think everyone knew about 2 years ago, Jackson County had a huge increase in property tax. And it kind of sent off a red light in Jefferson City of like, you can't be raising property tax this much on people, and it was just almost criminal.
Yeah.
So we've been working for like 2 years to come up with a solution to make sure it doesn't happen. Well, it has started happening now in other areas of the state. Mm-hmm. And so I think it was our assessor, Julie Rails, back in, I think maybe February. She had some assessors from across the state come to Lebanon. So I went to the meeting, and it was a great meeting of Howell County, Webster County, Christian County, and Pulaski, I think, were all there. And you start talking about an assessor. Well, it's an elected position. And if you have to be elected every cycle, raising people's taxes on a regular basis is probably not the best thing you can be doing.
It's not the greatest solution for a win every year, no.
But there are some things in statute that our commission follows, saying your property needs to be at 90 to 110% assessed, which that right there just makes me mad. 110%? Really?
So that means that if my property, just for easy math, was $100,000, that needs to be assessed between $90,000 and $110,000.
In simple terms.
In simple terms, yes. Okay.
Yes. So, and most counties were, I think, in the 50s and 60s because of the re-election process of an assessor. And so they never really raised all that much. Well, now the commission has kind of come into some of these counties, and they had to, and they did.
And you're talking about the tax commission?
Threaten, yes, our Missouri Tax Commission, and they kind of threatened withholds from the county if they did not, send out these notices for the increase.
Yeah.
And everyone is up in arms. That
right.
just triggers everyone.
Oh, of course.
Raising taxes of any sort. The unique part of that is whenever counties, let's say that the increase was 14%. Years ago, and we actually had a Hancock at the meeting. I thought that was pretty
that was
pretty cool. The nephew was
Mel
there.
Hancock's nephew, yes.
And he passed saying that regardless of what the increase is, you can never raise it more than CPI or 5%.
Yeah.
Kind of to protect the patrons.
Yeah.
So political subdivisions then that operate under levies would have to reduce that levy to offset the increase, if that makes sense.
So let me unravel that. So let's say my tax is $100, right? And taxing me $101 would put me outside of the Hancock Amendment. Then one of those levies that is attached to that $100 tax has to reduce.
Would have to reduce.
Okay.
So you couldn't go, I think cost of living, the CPI index right now is, I think, 2.9.
What's a CPI index?
It's basically the cost of living increase.
Okay, that's happens. Fair. Yeah.
So 2.9, less than 5%, so you go with the 2.9.
Yes.
And there's a lot of arguments, and I think that meeting the other night, I think there was a lot of confusion on, was that committee set up to get rid of property taxes? No, they were not.
No.
were they, getting rid of sales taxes? And they are not set up to get rid of any taxes. I think that committee is traveling around the state, and what they're going to take is all the information they've gotten, and I think they will create legislation that we will file and work on this year. But I think their main purpose is, what is reasonable caps that can be put on this process to make sure patrons aren't hurt in a 1-year cycle of an increase or whatever that might be. I think reasonable caps to protect the citizens is probably the main purpose of that.
Okay. I got a couple follow-ups. So the tax commission comes in and says, hey, unless you get to this 90 to 110% assessment, we're going to withhold. What are they threatening to withhold?
I'm not positive on Laclede counties. I'm going to be pretty close. I think it was $16,000 they were going to withhold from the county, which is something that raises a question all within its own. Do they have the authority to do that?
Right.
That was my first question, and whenever I talked to the governor's office, that was their first question.
Right. Yeah. Because when you get into so we're talking about that this affects county legislation, but it is implemented from a state level into the county, and the tax commission is appointed by the governor, correct?
Yep.
And so you guys are feeling like this might be a little bit overstep of their bounds to say, hey, if you don't do this, we're going to withhold this money, and they don't necessarily control that money.
Yeah. And there were some questions on authority, I think, that were brought up in that meeting that was very good. And hats off to the commission. They stayed through that whole thing. They took body blows. They took blows to the head. But they stayed.
Yeah, and I'll see if I can find the video because they were supposed to post it. But they were up there, almost an hour?
Yeah.
In this meeting, you got 19 state reps, and you've got the Missouri Tax Commission, their attorney, and a couple other, and some representatives, and they were questioned for over an hour. Now, this meeting, for people that weren't there or were there, was, you correct me anywhere I'm wrong, was pretty much like a hearing you would have on the floor, except it was just done in the Wallace Building.
Yeah, there was not legislation that was being discussed. It was ideas of solutions.
So when we're on a citizen level, and let's go back to the Hancock Amendment real quick. So the Hancock has a cap on it, but that cap is an overall revenue collected, not person. So a person can be taxed outside of that cap as long as the total tax collected is under that cap.
It's kind of a catch-all cap. The Hancock is supposed to protect everyone.
Yeah.
So this is where it gets really, really muddy. And as many people was at that meeting, I don't think a lot of people. The Hancock, as simple as I try to make it sound, is not very simple.
Right, and that's kind of the feeling I got, and that's why I was asking you about it, is because I was aware of it, but there was talk about loopholes or how it's being implemented in this county and that county and whatever.
So political subdivisions that operate under levies, Hancock says you have to roll that levy back to make sure no one gets more than a 5% increase, ever.
Yeah.
And I'm sure several years ago, some great representative or senator probably stuck into legislation. If you have any form of debt service, you're not required to roll back. Debt service typically more happens within school districts more often than not because of the building and everything that they have. So they'll have an operating levy and a debt service levy.
So real quick, what's a debt service?
A debt service would be, Lebanon, we've passed them here. You can pass a bond issue for a building project.
Yeah.
Once that bond issue is paid down, then your levy goes back.
Yeah.
But if you have other things you need to do within your school for maintenance, you can pass like they call it, the no tax increase bond issue, which entitles the school to keep on drawing on that money. It doesn't raise the taxes of your patrons, but it's kind of like refinancing that loan a little bit, to put it in simple terms. And it doesn't raise your taxes unless the tax commission comes in and says you're going to raise your taxes.
Right.
And then it automatically does because you're paying based on that levy.
Right. And then that levy is excluded from the Hancock because it's a debt service.
There you go.
Okay.
So they're always entitled to new construction And then this debt service is another thing. The debt service would be something that would be called a loophole in the system. And I think there was a couple of people that alluded to it the other night. I made the comment, Senate Bill 3 also sparked this thing, and not a whole lot of people know, and that was we were trying to keep the Chiefs and the Royals here. Right?
Yeah.
Pretty simple. You put a plan on the table, and a lot of people said you should never help these billionaires out. And my argument is, well, if they leave the state, all the revenue follows them, and they generate a lot of it.
And yeah, because you're talking all taxes, commission, like so they're just
regardless of what you think about keeping them here or not keeping them here.
You're not doing it as a fan. You're doing it as a business. Yeah.
So the Senate brings up Senate Bill 3 before we're there, and during the special session, well, some of the there's a certain caucus there that would fall more in line with we're not giving billionaires money in this state, not understanding that if we don't, some other state is, and they're leaving.
Yes. Yeah.
They started negotiating at about midnight, I believe it was that night, because I was actually in Jeff City for it, and they were just going to senators and going, you want your property taxes to never increase more than 5%, or just let the local government do what they were intended to do the first time. At midnight. They couldn't call commissioners. They couldn't call their reps. They couldn't.
Yeah.
There was just, they were going into offices going 0, 5%, or let the locals do what they're supposed to do. So now all these senators, were like, well, no more than 5% or 0. I don't want anything. No, we'll never have another raise. And so when Senate Bill 3 passes, for the Chiefs and the Royals to stay in the state, this is attached to it. And now we have counties all over the state that are being treated differently as it becomes their property taxes. So if you got a school district in 2 counties, part of that county might be froze forever. The other might have no more than a 5% increase, and the other might be still up to their local authorities, which is what it was supposed to be. And this took place at, it's kind of embarrassing. It took place about 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, because one of the things that we found out at that meeting is doing all counties standardized, doing all counties the same way. That no matter if it's Webster, Pulaski, like Lead, Jackson, Northern County, Southern County, Boot Hill County, we're all assessing and doing taxes the same way. One of the things that I was surprised about, and it's just like this little thing, right? There's no standardized software for reporting taxes. There's no standardized way. Yeah. When they said manually, what they meant was copying pieces of paper in and sending them to the government. So what happens, and once again, correct, because I'm going to opinionize a little bit, is you have all these counties, just like you said, you have some states reps negotiating deals in for their specific county and districts, while this one wasn't included. The people on the ground are never talked to. The citizens are never talked to. So now you have, what is it? How many counties in Missouri? I don't know.
114.
114 counties that literally you could have 114 different ways to do taxes, 114 different ways to report them, and encompasses the millions of citizens in Missouri. And then we're out here at small local meetings trying to voice our opinion, and it just makes it seem a little hopeless.
I was in a senator's office, and I'm like, why wouldn't we just freeze everything for 2 years so we can sort this out?
Right. Put a pause.
And then say, never can you have more than 5% in a 2-year cycle. And then reduce the cap of the assessed from 90 to 110 to 75 or 80.
Right.
Schools and libraries still get more money. We've essentially cut taxes. And we've protected citizens, all in the same deal.
All in the same thing.
And Senator Huff looked at me and he goes, that's a great idea. It'll probably never happen. That almost makes too much sense.
Right?
To make everyone on the same page. And then someone mentioned the other night, just do CPI and cap it no more than 5%. That makes perfect sense.
Like the commission says, let's do common sense tax laws. Okay, here's a common sense thing. Assess it for the value, let it rise by cost of living, and be done. Like whether you're the Chiefs or the Royals or a billionaire or a thousandaire or a $10 heir, you know what taxes you're paying. It's fair across the board, no loopholes, no anything. And I think that's the common sense thing everybody wants to see.
And I don't think you, and if you do cap it at 75 or 80%, it just sounds so much better to your constituents than 110%. Why would I say something is worth more than it is?
And it's still like you said, the assessor is an elected position. So this would literally make the assessor just get reelected every cycle because nobody likes the tax man. And so what we're seeing in this, and why I invited Jeff, is because if you're still confused, we all are.
Everyone is. I told someone the other day, I said there was, I don't know, 160 or 70 people at that meeting, and 12 people probably understood how
yes,
how it all works, because it is muddy. Our governor wants a new funding formula for schools, and I'm 100%. But until you fix these loopholes on the levies, you can never come up with a funding formula that treats everyone fair.
Because I think, as far as common sense goes, we all agree we need roads, we need fire, we need roads, we need fire, we need schools, we need education, we need all those things that our property tax goes to, right? I don't think anybody is sitting there going, we don't need those things. But I think what it does is it puts like schools in a bad position, that they're constantly out there seemingly asking for more money because these things fluctuate or bad. And then they'll take the brunt of a tax increase. But then if we decrease taxes, then we lose county roads, we lose fire districts, we lose assistance programs, things like that. And as a community, we need those things. So when before we were on air, I said, there's really no good solution to this. You're going to be taxed. We need to have taxes.
I don't know of anyone who just says, I love paying taxes.
No.
But
Willie Nelson, maybe?
There are people that would like to be able to pick up the phone and make sure a fire truck shows up.
Right.
And the other argument I've gotten since I've been in office is, well, if your kids aren't in school, you shouldn't have to pay all these school taxes. And I'm like, well, technically, someone was paying those taxes whenever you were in school. It's like a dozer. That track keeps on going around.
And come in close, audience. Education's important. Okay?
It is important. Yes.
So funding that is important, and funding those things are important. But I think everybody is just a little confused about these fluctuations and things. Before we get off of here, because I know we didn't solve much, but maybe we lended some things to clarification.
You've not been around Lebanon for a long, long time, and I will tell you, I've been around here my entire life, and that is the first time I have ever seen a Jefferson City committee in this town. And I think that is a step saying that we are wanting to get into the public. We want your opinions instead of, social media is such an easy way to tell everyone how much more you know than they do. But this is, hey, we're coming to a town near you. So, come in. And one thing that I was very impressed. I thought probably 160, 70 people-ish.
It was enough to make it really uncomfortably warm in there.
Yeah, it was very warm. I kept on turning the... Sorry for anyone, but yes, I did have the air conditioning set on 63, and I think it was still about 80.
Yeah, no, it was struggle busing.
There's a lot of people that I've heard from, obviously, during my tenure in Jefferson City, and this comes to Lebanon, and they weren't there.
Yeah.
This is your chance. This is your chance to come and try to be part of the solution instead of just complaining about a problem. And it amazed me. We had a person from Cass County.
Mm-hmm. And that's always a ways.
Yeah. We had a fire marshal from Cass County. We had Webster, Pulaski, Greene. I mean, there was people from all over.
Yes.
So I was kind of proud that, that we got the crowd that we had there. I thought the discussion was very professional between the committee and the members. And, you don't have to like them.
No.
They didn't like him in the Bible either, those tax collectors, but the commission that stayed there for 4.5 or 5 hours and just kept on taking shots to the head.
Oh, yeah.
And I talked to Gary Romine. He was a senator my first year there, I believe it was. And I thanked him. I said, hey, thanks for sticking around for this entire deal. I said, you all were kind of getting beat up a little bit. And he goes, well, I think everyone agrees that we need to fix the problem.
And for their credit, they knew what they were going to do was going to be an unpopular thing.
Yeah.
And they've stood on it. I
Yeah.
mean, they've stood on it, and there were people in there that said, no, the tax commission's right, because if the assessor is an elected position, and I don't blame an assessor, a school, a congressman, a tax commission. There's no real blame in here because we all work inside of our stratospheres that we're given to do, right? And this is the best decision that they've seen. And then the assessors come back and go, there was 14 counties, I think, that refused to sign that memorandum. And then we signed it for a lesser amount. I don't know. There's a lot of nuances to this. But no, you're right. The tax commission, the reps, we were talking about Facebook because somebody said they don't care. And I said, hey, look, they cared enough to show up. I don't know how much they've cared after that or what's going to come of this, but at least they cared enough to hold the meeting.
And I think anytime this much pressure is coming down and something you're involved in, you better care or you're not going to be there.
Yeah, because I think whatever you think about politics, I think there's a resurgence of people starting to understand what their vote is going to do. I think anytime politics gets a little gritty, like it has from the national to local level, that it really does kind of spurn action with representatives because when people are mad, they go vote.
It is, and that's how it's intended to work.
Yes.
And it's easy to get mad on the outside. I always tell people, I said, you should come up there for a day or two and listen to what we listen to and then try to make a decision, and you look at the federal level, which I think is so much worse. But, we have stuff on ours too that'll have 5 or 6 of the best ideas you have ever heard in your life, and there's one over here that just kind of hits you the wrong way. And are you going to vote yes on that, or are you going to let it go because of this one thing? You can help 7 groups over here on this side, but this little piece right here gives you a little bit of heartburn, and you have to make a decision for everyone in this state in about 2 or 3 minutes before you push that button. And I don't think people understand it. That it's way easier to sit back and be that armchair quarterback kind of than trying to process. The Chiefs and the Royals. To me, it's a simple that we got to keep them. But then you throw a tax deal in there that jacks up all 114 counties, and you're like, this is awful. This is one of the worst things I've ever done.
Yeah, right.
But we have to send a message that we want those professional teams in our state because of the revenue and what they do for the economy. That's things that happens every day.
Yeah, and it doesn't instill the greatest faith in government, but it's the system we have. It's the system we have,
good reason.
And it's the system we have to use, and that's how we fix the system, right? Is from within and from without of doing these things. But that's a conversation for another day, and I've kept you long enough today. Thank you so much for your time today. You're always welcome back here anytime that you want. I may reach out to you if you have questions.
Anytime. I think I've proven today that I ran a campaign on not being a politician, but I feel pretty confident I've left this one without answering a single question, so I feel like I've gotten pretty good at it.
Well, we'll continue to help you grow. Everybody stay tuned for more content coming up today. This is Representative Jeff Knight from the 142nd. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.